So here's a little secret. I leave school every day at 3. So that was my goal, to try and get all of my work done within my contract hours. And I think I've done a pretty good job of it, but I had to make some changes in order to make that happen. Hello, my time crunch teachers, and welcome to the show. This is your team teacher, Marielle DeRosier, here to help you optimize your teaching, technology, and time management. Today, we're talking about all the things I am no longer doing as we enter the 2023 new year so that I could give more time to the things that mattered most. But the beauty of my list is that you could give up all these things whenever you wanted, and maybe you already have. Okay, I've decided to group the list into 3 categories: things I'm no longer spending my money on, things I'm no longer spending my time on, and things I'm no longer giving my energy to. Incidentally, when I was teaching middle school writing, I used to tell the kids, don't fall into the things trap. There are so many other words you can use instead of things. You can say items, categories, pieces, ideas, etc. So sorry, 6th grade class of 2015, I'm not going to follow my own advice today. All right, today's first topic is things I am no longer spending money on. And the top of this list for me is class rewards. That's right. No coupons or stickers or brag tags, no toys or trinkets or tchotchkes. And bless your heart if you have the whole desk pets menagerie, because none of those things are getting past animal control in my classroom. So you see, before I started teaching 2nd grade, I was actually a middle school teacher for over 10 years. And when you teach middle school, you don't really need class rewards, especially those that are extrinsic or any sort of classroom economy. But when I moved down to 2nd grade, everyone said that I had to have some sort of token system, like points or tickets that the kids earned in order to buy little toys or rewards, because how else are you going to learn how to run a capitalist economy if they don't learn it from me in 2nd grade? So I bought into all of that. Literally, I made all the little fake money and had a store and everything. And it was cute for a while, but it was a lot to maintain, and it cost money, not a significant amount of money, but enough that it mattered. It also didn't ever really feel right to me either. Like, I like to operate my classroom based on harnessing the power of intrinsic motivation for students, not extrinsic rewards. For some reason, I was convinced that the younger kids needed it, and they don't. And my proof was in what they used their reward money for. So I had a lot of really fun toys in the prize shop. And I also had some little rewards like sit next to a friend or be a line leader for a week, that sort of thing. And you know what the number 1 prize was that they chose? Lunch with teacher. Yeah, they all bought lunch with teacher, and they even pooled their money together like little loan sharks and bought me out that way too. And before you think I'm just humble bragging like I'm this amazing teacher they couldn't wait to spend their time with, I'm not. They would have bought lunch with teacher if it was anyone, because it's not the prize they're going for. It's the attention. They love having an adult's undivided attention for 30 minutes where they could talk about whatever they wanted. And it was fun for me too, because I got to learn a lot about them and their interests. So I learned a lot about Pokemon and Applebee's. By the way, if you have an 8-year-old, apparently Applebee's is the place to take them. They love them some Applebee's. Not sponsored, by the way, by Applebee's. So after all this time and energy spent into purchasing, organizing, and running this whole class economy, I learned that all they really want is time. Each kid is wearing a little invisible sign that says, "Make me feel important." So that's what I did. I spent more time with them playing games and having fun. I'll tell you what I will brag about: my Foursquare skills, because if you spend enough time during your yard duty playing against a bunch of 2nd graders, you can get really good. And I know it's really big of me to brag about dominating a game against 8-year-olds, but I do dominate. So let's be clear about that. Okay, the next item I'm no longer spending my money on is TPT. I know that's teacher blasphemy in some circles, but hear me out. I'm not saying that Teachers Pay Teachers doesn't have some amazing resources on it, because they do, but I found that amount of time I spent searching for the perfect resource was just not worth it for me. I could just as easily spend that time creating a similar resource on my own. Will it look beautiful? No, but do the kids care? Not even a little. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for spending money on resources that are convenient. I will definitely spend some cash on something that gives me back my time. But as I got sucked into the TPT rabbit hole, I found that I was looking for cute things, not necessarily items that were going to make me more efficient. Plus, and if you're a TPT seller, I just don't know how you do it. It seems like these people spend hours and hours creating resources and sell them for like $3. I mean, I get that the money is in the volume of the sales, but it just seems like a tremendous amount of work on your behalf. And that's before the company takes their cut. So good on you for having that kind of fortitude. The next area I no longer spend my money on is Amazon or any easy to buy online e-commerce site. It's just too easy and convenient to click your way through purchases that ultimately I found I didn't need. So in order to create a little bit more of a barrier to that, I did something super easy. I just removed my credit card from my account. It's shocking how something as simple as me having to get up, walk upstairs, open a drawer, pull out my card and enter the numbers, then purchase the item is enough to make me just not do it. So that's right. My laziness is keeping me from making impulse purchases. Thanks, apathy. You won this time. The next category is things I'm no longer spending time on. And first of which is grading everything. If there was one huge first-year teacher mistake that I can honestly say was the most detrimental to me, it was thinking I had to grade everything. So if you're someone who does this, let me just grant you the permission right now. You don't have to grade everything. You don't. The kids don't expect it. The parents don't expect it. And if your administration expect it, then find another school, because it serves no one to have to grade every piece of paper that comes your way. Now, that doesn't mean I don't review everything. It just means I don't have to go through the formal grading process of having a rubric or point system, reviewing every aspect of the assignment, and then grading and returning everything and entering it into some sort of LMS. The best thing I did was to really dive into the differences between formative and summative assessments and prioritize what is the point of each assignment I'm giving. What is the goal? Not everything needs a grade, and it's okay if it's just giving you feedback on how the class is progressing and what modifications you need to do to make your teaching the most effective it can be. Along those same lines, I don't start my class with writing activities anymore. You know, the welcome class, sit in, sit down, write. I don't do it. First of all, it's boring and the kids hate it. Secondly, has anyone ever been successful with all of the students finishing or ending at the same time? Because I haven't. And if you have, then send me an email, because I would love to know how you were able to accomplish that. I still have kids coming in late when the first kids are finishing. So I have to have alternatives to the sit down and do morning work or bell work or whatever you want to call it. For middle and upper grades, I like using the share and connect question. It's basically a fun or intriguing would you rather or hypothetical situation question that the kids love to answer. And I always got 100% student participation with it. And for the other option for younger grades is the soft start or classroom games at the beginning of class. I've done a deep dive into both of these options with lots and lots of examples on my YouTube channel, The Time Crunch Teacher, but I'll be sure to link both of these videos in the show notes for this podcast episode. They've made a world of a difference in my classroom, and my student engagement has increased drastically. The next item I'm no longer spending time on is class jobs. I used to have all of these class jobs that were either rotated on a weekly or daily basis, and I would spend a bunch of time teaching the students how to do each job. But then I realized that they didn't really need that many jobs, and most of the students finished their jobs super fast, so I just got rid of them. Instead, I like to use what were previously class jobs as rewards instead. So for example, my students love watering the plants, and I only need to show one kid how to do it, and then they teach anyone else who's interested. They also love volunteering to sharpen the pencils or put the library books back, those kind of things. So instead of assigning them as jobs, the students get chosen to do them as a special award or just on a volunteer basis. And the regular tidy up the classroom jobs, everyone does, because I think those are important skills for students to learn and to have pride in their classroom space. Another thing I'm no longer spending my time on is taking my work home with me. So like I said earlier, I'm trying to work only my contract hours, which means I leave at 3. And I'm not taking papers home with me to work on later. So for starters, not grading everything has helped with that tremendously. But secondly, knowing that I won't be taking things home with me to grade or lesson plans means that I have to be very strict about how I use my prep and planning time when I'm on campus. And in order to do this, I actually schedule what I do during my prep periods. So I look at my to-do list and I move the items on it to my specific prep times. And then I sit down and work the entire hour to get as much done as possible. It also means I have to streamline my planning process so that I'm not wasting time remembering the steps I need in order to take to plan everything. I actually have a lot of podcast episodes and YouTube videos about all of my productivity systems, but just know that I'm also working on a specific video for how to work contract hours only. So stay tuned for that. But the most important thing to remember is to not take work home with you if you can, and to be hyper focused during your planning time in order to complete all of your tasks. All right, the last topic is things I'm no longer giving my energy to. And this list actually only consists of one item, but it ends up affecting many areas of my life. And that is, I am no longer saying yes to every opportunity that's presented to me. This is a really hard one for me because I genuinely enjoy being involved in things. I like helping other people. I enjoy spending time with others, very much the extrovert. And when new projects come along, I get really excited and I like the idea of participating. So I always joke that I'm one of those people that absolutely will succumb to positive peer pressure. So if you have an idea or something you want to do, ask me and I'll jump in with you. But when new projects come along, I need to be able to prioritize them. And it's also really hard for me when I feel overwhelmed. And then all of these opportunities that were initially really exciting are now becoming burdens. And if you're like me, it's hard to feel like you're letting other people down when you said you're going to commit to something. So I found the easiest way to not have to be in that position is to just let them know up front that while it was certainly nice to have been asked, it's not something that I can commit to at this time. I found that people are very understanding if you let them know that expectation at the beginning. It's much easier to tell someone no in the ideas phase than to bail out once you've made the commitment to them. And if you are like me and struggle with figuring out how to prioritize which opportunities you can commit to, then try this tactic. Before you say yes to anything, figure out what you're saying no to in order to get that done. For example, I once had a friend ask if I would help coach an after-school sport with her, and the opportunity sounded super fun. I love coaching, and it turned out that the practice times were ones that worked with my schedule. However, in order to say yes to her, that means I would have to give up some of my family time and after-school time, and certainly give up some weekend time for games, and I didn't want to say no to that. I like having the freedom of my weekends to do whatever I want. And I don't want to be tied to a time commitment that I knew I would need to fulfill. So next time you're presented with an opportunity, no matter how enticing you think it might be, think about what saying yes to it would mean in terms of what other aspects in your life you'd then have to say no to. So I'm sure there are many, many other things I'm no longer going to do in 2023, but I'd be curious to know what items made it onto your list. They could be teaching related or perhaps something in your home life that you've decided to change. So feel free to email me your list to info@thetimecrunched.teacher.com because I'd love to see what other items I can copy from you too. You can also email us your funny classroom stories to share on the podcast because speaking of classroom stories, today's classroom story is about why I no longer accept student gifts without asking some questions first. So this is actually my favorite story from the year, but it is pretty shocking. Okay, so at the beginning of the school year, one of my very, very sweet students tells me, "I have a present for you, Miss D," which is just one of the sweetest things you can hear from a second grader because you just know you're going to get some adorable little rainbow drawing of you and the kid looking all happy. So this kid walks to his cubby and he comes back with a large pink Easter egg, like a plastic Easter egg. Now, that should have been my first clue. As it was September, why would this kid be giving me an Easter egg? But because I don't think quickly on my feet sometimes, I say a few words that I'm going to soon learn to regret, which is, "Oh, show me what it is." So he pops open the egg and I'm expecting something like a little piece of candy or a sticker or drawing or something sort of funny, like maybe a rock or whatever. What I was not expecting was for him to open it and proudly show me a dead lizard. Let me paint a picture for you, dear listener. So it's in there, all coiled up, and he pulls it out, all floppy-headed and limp, just like so excited to show me. Oh, gag. And of course, I scream because I'm a child. And now I have 23 other little creatures running around us to look at what set off Miss D. And they are pumped. I mean, whatever hesitation I had about this Geico reject was inversely related to the extreme excitement that the students had over this dead lizard in a cup. And then I realized, oh no, I totally hurt his feelings. Like, he can tell this gift was not well received. It was not unlike when a cat brings you a dead rat on your doorstep and it's so proud to show it off to you and you just want to huck it in the nearest dumpster fire that you can find. So now I'm backpedaling and I'm trying to muster up everything I have to not, one, toss my cookies, and two, not hurt this poor kid's feelings. Meanwhile, he's trying to give me the whole backstory, like, it was alive when I found it, but then my cousin was looking at it and it stopped moving. So then I put it in the egg to look at it later. Like, he's retelling me the whole English patient storyline, and I'm waiting for the part about when Ray finds in the plane crash or whatever. And lo and behold, it's recess time and the bell rings and all the little critters, live and one dead one, run out the door and they're off. So a few minutes later, I get this text from a colleague, like a message from God. And she goes, "Hey, Miss D, so-and-so showed me his lizard. I did a whole burial for it. Don't worry, it's taken care of." If I could have repaid that woman with my life, I might have in that moment. So I text her back, "Thank you so much. I'll cover your yard duties until the end of time." But the best part of this story, is that this colleague of mine is just so brilliant. So she tells me later, "Hey, I buried the egg with all the kids, but then later, after they left, I actually took it out and I threw it away in the dumpster so that they wouldn't be tempted to dig it up and play with it again." A saint. This woman is a saint and she's brilliant. And I mean, talk about being one step ahead of the kids. Because let's be real, if my student is the type of kid to bring his cousin's dead lizard and a pink Easter egg, he's definitely the type of kid to exhume it and show it to a few more people. But I have to say, I think I will always have a little bit of fear and anxiety every time I see a plastic unopened egg. So Easter hunts are going to be a whole new challenge for me this year. Thank you so much for your kind attention today. And remember, time you enjoy wasting is not wasted time. Until next time, teachers, bye for now. Don't open plastic eggs.